All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jan Lehman with CTC Productivity. I think I know everybody on the call, and with me today is my fabulous team. I'm Nancy Kreschke, the other lovely lady in green, and Walter Jankowski in red over there, Team CTC. We are super excited you're here. For those of you that haven't been joining us every month, we've been doing a webinar series for I don't even know, 8-9 months, something like that, all around kind of leveraging Microsoft 365. We are big fans. And Georgine had asked the question, do we record the sessions? And yes, every one of them we record. And so you can go out to the website. Nancy, are you going to enter in?
Oh,
one of them will enter the chat,
the
link, so you can get, you got it, Walter, thank you.
Yeah.
So you can go, you can click on it and get a link to where on our website exactly the recordings are. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? We started off the series doing a high level overview of 365, just sort of to getting people to wrap their heads around what is this technology? Why does it exist? What can it do for us? Then we took some deeper dives into some of the individual apps like OneNote, Planner, etc. Now we're in kind of the beginning, middle of a little mini series, and we're really trying to give some skills and ideas to our leaders within the organizations on how to work with, lead and manage in a remote workforce. So that's the little mini series we're on. And let's see, go ahead, Nancy, if you want to flip to the next page. So today we're doing running effective meetings online. In March, we're going to be doing managing your department. And Walter will enter that registration link into chat if you want to sign up for it. And then in April, again, kind of continuing in our mini series, we're doing managing performance in OneNote. So another important role for all of us that manage people. And Walter will also enter into chat. If you want to just sign up for our newsletter, it's going to make your life easier because we'll send out notes saying, hey, do you want to register? So if you don't want to miss one, just sign up for the newsletter and you'll get a reminder in your inbox whenever we're introducing a new topic. To let you know how the sessions run, normally when Nancy and Walter and I do training, we're very interactive. We are not like doing a monologue. For these, we chose to do a really condensed 20-minute topic where we just talk without discussion. And then we're opening it up to Q&A. So for those of you that are here just to learn exactly what you need to know, you can, get out then after the 20 minutes. And others can stick around and we have an open Q&A. So as we're going along, you'll probably have questions. Please enter them into chat. That gives Walter and Nancy, the brains of the operation, time to really think about your questions and be ready with some answers. So feel free to use the chat as we go through. I have a couple slides and then I'll be turning it over to Nancy to lead this one. We love this slide. Often we find that leaders really have no clue the amount of waste in an organization because of productivity challenges. And so this is a quote from the Wall Street Journal talking about how office workers are wasting almost half their workday because they weren't taught organizing skills. So it's talking about organizing your day, organizing your workflow, organizing your emails, your digital data, everything. Organize the way you run meetings. So we have great job security. The next slide is just a little reminder that even for technology that's been around forever, so we barely scratched the surface of using the technology. So I had a training session with Stephanie, who's on the call this morning, a 90-minute session on how to manage your inbox. And email's been around for 20 plus years, and people are still trying to figure out, how do I use this technology? So you can imagine with 365 that we're using like 1-2% of it. Most people are using, Microsoft Teams meetings, the video feature of Teams, but they're not using all the various apps. So we're super excited for you guys to be here to learn. We're getting called in to work with a number of companies with 365. A lot of times they're calling saying, hey, Jan, we've made a complete mess. We need help. Can you come in and audit what we've done and help us kind of clean up? And then we're getting a number of calls from really progressive leaders that are like, hey, we want to do this right. We want to look at our communication and collaboration workflow and how to leverage 365 effectively. So lots of different types of ways of approaching rolling out this technology. So again, we're super excited you're here. And on that note, I think, Nance, you can take her away.
If I get everything to work right. Well, welcome. So here's a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to talk about setting up your Microsoft 365 apps. what are some things you want to do before a meeting in utilizing 365 apps, and things to do during and after the meeting, and then go ahead and close out. If you've attended any of our other sessions, you've probably seen this slide that's a little overwhelming with all the 365 apps that are out there. We're going to focus today on OneNote, Teams, and Planner, which some of you may have been confused if you were looking for Planner inside of Teams. They have essentially renamed it inside of Teams, and it is now called Task by Planner and To Do within the Teams app. But Planner does still exist out there. That is the platform that it all runs on. So
Nancy's got a full-time job just keeping up with the constant changes in 365. It's crazy.
I try my best.
Yeah.
So let's get prepared. What do you need to set up to run an effective meeting utilizing those apps? And again, the Teams, OneNote, and the Task or the Planner app. The first thing you want to do is obviously get a team set up. So whether it's an all company team or it's a department team, but you want to make sure that you have your team set up. And then if you've chosen to do channels, to go ahead and get those channels set up. So you see an example here that we have a collaboration team between the three of us. And one of our channels is webinar planning. And we're going to walk you through kind of how we do our meetings within that webinar planning channel.
Yes, if I could interject, I always forget to say this. So for those of you that are just joining us for the first time and you're like, what the heck is a team and a channel? You're going to want to go back and watch those past recordings. So we definitely are kind of building on and assume you have a certain level of knowledge, but just kind of let it absorb, soak in, get an understanding, but you probably want to go back and watch past recordings.
Within that particular channel, the webinar planning channel, we have a notebook, and we were able to add the notebook, but we want to easily access the notebook. So putting OneNote and our notebook so that it's a quick link up here in the tabs just makes it much easier for everyone on the team to access. So we have our team, we have our channel, we have our notebook all accessible. Inside of that notebook, you want to go ahead and set up your section. So we set up a section for webinar planning, and then we have our pages, which allow us to go ahead and add the information as we have our meetings. So having that all pre-set up before you go into your meeting just makes things a little bit easier. The other is, where are you going to capture those tasks? And so we recommend using the planner or the Task by Planner, which it's called inside of Teams, and also adding that as a link, a quick link up here to your tabs. If you already know going into your meeting what your buckets or what your subcategories are that you're going to be talking about when you're having that meeting, to go ahead and set up those buckets or those categories. So in our case, we have, okay, what do we need to do to prep and who's going to do that? What needs to happen with the website? What are the tasks for Zoom? So we split it out by kind of the three different areas. And really the webinar prep is almost should be changed to PowerPoint, because who's working on the PowerPoint? What do they need to do? What's happening on the website and Zoom? Before the meeting, here's some best practices. Is that when you schedule that meeting, utilize actually the team channel. So this just shows the details of this meeting. And when you have a team and a channel, rather than just going to Outlook and just scheduling an Outlook Teams meeting, if you actually schedule that from the channel or within Teams, you can apply it to the channel. And we'll show you what that looks like as we go through the process here. Invite, and you can invite internal and external people to that meeting. So, just go ahead. If you do not add any participants to it, it will invite everybody on that team. But if there are people that it is mandatory for or required, then you may want to specifically put them in there as these people are required. And we find a best practice is to include one of two things. One is the full agenda that is right in the body of the message here as you're sending that meeting notice out. And it typically is either a copy of or a link to what the agenda is in OneNote. Since we're so used to seeing that agenda, maybe in that meeting details on our calendar, it can be nice to put it 2 places, but only type it once and copy and paste it the other place. Attendees, and even those of us running a meeting, there's kind of some before meeting responsibilities that we want to take a look at. Reviewing the previous meeting notes and recordings for more context. What was the last meeting about? Is there something that I missed or I want to touch base on, and go back and listen to that or look through the notes? Do an update. By utilizing Planner, it gives us the ability to update everybody ahead of the meeting on where that task stands. So go in, review the task that you had assigned to you, and get those updated so that everybody can see that. And another item that many of our clients and ourselves will add to our meeting agendas is, what was your win, or what was a challenge that you had this week? And so that might be something that's right on your agenda and asking people to bring to the meeting. We're going to go ahead and switch over now, and we're actually going to do a live Teams meeting demo inside of the Zoom meeting. So we have practiced this, but you know technology.
Wish us luck.
So I'm just putting a disclaimer out there, because we are actually in a Zoom meeting, and we are going to switch in and do a Teams meeting inside of this. So I'm going to switch over to my Teams app. Excuse me. And I went right into my calendar here, and you can see here's the webinar planning demo right on my Teams calendar. I just want to verify, is everybody seeing Teams and not PowerPoint? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join the team meeting. And when you join a team meeting, you can choose what you want. I'm going to make sure my audio is off, because otherwise we're going to have some issues here. And I don't want my video because it's already being used over there. And I'm going to join now. And I can see Jan and Walter beat me in here. So now all 3 of us are inside of this Teams meeting. Walter's like, yes, I won. I don't want to see our pictures anymore. Okay. And we're all going to just look at our own screen in this instance. But what I do want to do is I'm going to go to our team, and I'm going to go to that webinar planning channel, and I'm going to go to our notebook, because that is where we have our agenda. So we're just going to walk through this. Oh, I missed one step. I actually do want to go back to this, because we do recommend that you go ahead and you record. And so if I click on more actions, I can come down here as the owner of this meeting, and I can start the recording. So our meeting is now being recorded. So I'll pop back over here. You'll also notice that in our agendas, we have meeting roles. So if you have a lot of people in a meeting, you might want to assign roles out. So we've assigned Jan. She's going to take the notes for this meeting, and Walter's going to add our action items to our plan. So identify the next topics and dates and presenters. You know, we talked a little bit about some of the dates that we have set up, and we did put that future topic. So let's just pop over to that quick, guys, and take a look at our future topics and see if there's something else in here that we want to add. So we talked about the March one is departments, teams, and SharePoint. And then we're going to talk about performance, and that's individual as well as a manager, capturing performance for performance reviews in OneNote. What about May? Is there anything else that we want to maybe add for May? Managers' roles in a changing environment? Jan, Walter?
You know what I would ask is, anybody that is in this seminar, if go into the chat, and what is one thing you would like to learn more about? Just type in one topic that you think you would want to learn more about. Otherwise, Jan, what are you thinking?
I love the whole change management concept. So many of our clients are struggling with that. And Walter, you're our change management guru. So I love the idea of it not, I mean, as we know, it can't just be a technical solution. It's got to be, how do you bring in and evolve the organization? So I would go that way. Templates is a great one, Gail. Thank you. How to make more money, Peter. Let's do that one. I like that. Bookings is another one. I would think, let's put that on the list. So I'm going to add these. So change management.
How to make more money. Using Teams and OneNote. I like it.
All
Has
right.
to be a way. Has to be a way.
So if you're
Right.
watching my screen, one of the things that you probably noticed is that a manager's role in managing change changed to bold. And we can go ahead and take a look by clicking on view and show authors. And it should show that Walter made that change to that. And so he updated that. Jan is typing, or Walter, one of the two of them is typing templates in OneNote and bookings as topics. They may or may not be in that particular month, but adding what you guys just said to this. So as you notice, we're all in teams. We're all looking at our own screen in this, but we could be sharing this OneNote notebook and seeing them happen live together as well. So that's one of the things. So Walter, so let me pop back over. Actually, I'm going to pop back over to here. And so they got added there too. Look at magic. Jan added those there. And Walter and Jan, what are some tasks that we need to do on that? So if Walter, if you'll just be popping over to the tasks. Yep. Look at that. And there's a pop-up. Now, this is new. I love this. While you were away, so there were changes made to tasks, so it lets you know that. And that's a new pop-up. As Jan said, they continue to go ahead and add these things. So there's, Jan went ahead and added one. Walter's going ahead and adding one over here. This one got maybe Jan didn't add it. Walter added it and assigned it to Jan. And he just added this one and assigned it to Walter. So by using the tasks and the OneNote inside of Teams, the collaboration hub, it gives you that ability that you're able to see these live and everybody can be in here at the same time, adding tasks, adding information to a notebook. We also can go in and take a look at files. So maybe we want to look at our March 3rd, or excuse me, our March 16th webinar together. And you'll notice when we're in here, up on the very, very top up here, I can see who else is in here. So I'm in this and Walter's in here and he can go ahead and it's magic. It's just everybody can see what we're all doing at the same time. And if we had a comment, if we click on conversations, I can come over here and I can say the blue needs to be the CTC color. So if this was the wrong color, and now I'm letting everybody know what's happening with that. If I go back and click on Teams on the left-hand side and go back into my posts, and hey guys, let's go ahead and get out of the Teams meeting. So I'm gonna pop back over to the team meeting and I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna close that window. What you see in the post for that is that here was the webinar planning demo. This is the meeting that we had. I see that Jan and Walt, people haven't left yet. It also shows all of those replies that we did if we had typed anything there. The other thing that we were working on in that meeting, remember, was the March 16th webinar. So we had that document open, which I got to by going to files. But once we typed conversation on it, all the conversations and comments that we wanted everyone to see and make notes on or comments on are attached also in the posts. So this is another great reason for collaborating inside of that meeting is all that information is here. You'll also see it says the recording has started. And when I got out of the meeting, the recording would end. And then that recording is going to be here. So anybody who missed the meeting can now go into that team and that channel and they can watch the recording and they can go, oh yeah, that's what they talked about. And then they can easily do a reply and add what other comments they had for that meeting. Sorry, I missed the meeting. See that I have tasks. And whatever else they wanted to say there. And so people can participate. If I can get my computer to do what I want. And we can continue to go ahead and add those. You can even, since the meeting's over, I can go ahead and go, yeah, it was a great meeting, and I can react to it with a thumbs up and with a heart, whatever I want it to do as a reaction. So that's a nice piece too, to really engage the team as you are going ahead and you're having that team meeting, you know, all virtually. There's that engagement in every step of the way. So let me pop back over to the PowerPoint and move on to the next slide here. So what are some things after the meeting, during and after the meeting? So we went through during the meeting. You know, once you get into it, if you're the one who started the meeting, and if your organization allows anybody in your company, somebody should be responsible for starting that meeting recording. Go ahead and pull up that agenda and just confirm or assign who's going to take the notes, who's going to capture the next actions. It's really hard as the leader of the meeting and, you know, trying to be the facilitator of all the conversations that are on the agenda to take the notes and capture those next actions. So if you assign those out, it just makes life easier. And also we don't have to write, we're done, and someone now has to type up the minutes and then email them out and everybody gets a copy, or where is it stored if it's a Word document. And so that makes life easy. When you're in the meeting, also sharing that content and collaborating. We could have shared screens and everybody could have been looking at the PowerPoint on my screen, but they also could have had it pulled up and been editing it at the same time. So it just gives you that ability to go ahead and have those conversations on the file, actually update the file when we're all in the meeting, and have any additional chats either on the file or in regards to the meeting that will show up in the posts. And to capture, review those next actions. What are the ones? Oh, what was I assigned? Where am I going to schedule those on my calendar? Then after the meeting recording is automatically shared in the channel. And so this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have a little small image like this, tell you how long the meeting was, and everybody that was in that meeting will be able to click on it and watch it. Meeting notes. They're updated. So, you know, it's kind of automatic. So it's just yep, everything's there. I have my recording, I have my meeting, I can do my reactions, and remind participants, you know, review the decisions that were made, discuss the next steps, or tell them what the next steps are and deadlines. So by having this in the post, that gives you ability to add, if you didn't do it during the meeting, to just go ahead and reply to that meeting in the post and say, hey guys, these were our deadlines, just a reminder. And any deadlines, since they're deadlines, most likely have a task assigned to it, those deadlines would be on those tasks. You can schedule follow-up meetings as needed in the channel, and so everybody knows what the next one is. And you can set those up so they're recurring. And in that case, you would just continue to add conversations to in the next meeting, and it would hold all of the recordings for each and every weekly meeting that you had. All right, so Jan, you're up, and then we'll go to Q&A.
All right, awesome. Awesome as usual, Nance. So again, this is probably very overwhelming. It's a lot of information. We call this sort of training awareness training. It's not hands-on. You're figuring out exactly how to do this. It's starting to like, oh, that's how it all fits together kind of training. So again, encourage you to go back and look at the past recordings to sort of catch up as to what's a post, what's OneNote, all that kind of stuff. Just another quick reminder, if you like this session, you might like our March session, which is going to be on managing your department. So Walter will enter that registration link into the chat again, so you can register for the March webinar. And then April, same thing, Walter will enter the April link. So that one's going to be on managing performance using OneNote, which is Nancy's favorite tool. So recommend that one. And again, I would just say to keep your lives easier, if you want to sign up for our newsletter, you'll get notifications for any future webinar and you can register that way. So, so I'm going to do a couple slides and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Just a reminder for those of you that maybe joined late, if you have any questions that already your thoughts are popping in your head, just start entering your questions in the chat. Walter and Nancy will start getting their thoughts together on how to answer those, but I'm going to close out with a couple slides before we get into Q&A. often when we do these webinars, a lot of people think that that's all we do is Microsoft 365. So I like to tell a little bit about CTC. So yes, we do a ton of consulting around leveraging Microsoft 365. As I mentioned, we often are really looking at from a process improvement standpoint. We do Lean Six Sigma that many of you may know about in kind of the manufacturing world. That's what we do in the office environment. So looking at how do you streamline, and again, for us, often then leveraging technology to improve that workflow. I do a lot around metrics and reporting using SharePoint and other tools. And then we do a lot of one-on-one coaching, group coaching, training, speaking. Our whole team does. Productivity-based topics like time management, email management, a lot of leadership topics like effective delegation, project management, and then a lot of technical training around, all the individual features and change management and all that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit about CTC. And at this point, we are, 2 minutes early, rock star. So going into Q&A, nice job, team. So we're going to open up for Q&A. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question, or if you'd prefer to put your question through chat, that's fine. Any questions so far?
There is one out here. Can you share how someone takes notes while meeting is in progress? Marcy asked that.
So, Marcy, so when we were in and I don't know, it looks like we're all still in here. I don't understand. When we were in this meeting, it's just a matter of going to your OneNote notebook and then just type. So Jan was just going ahead and typing. So I can just type here. Everyone is going to see those updates automatically because we all have access to this team, to this channel, to this notebook. And it just takes that little bit of synchronization time. So there's a little bit of a lag. It's not a huge lag. And you can go ahead and take notes. If whoever is running the meeting is sharing their screen because they're going to toggle between different things like I did, I started out on this page. And if we were sharing, I could have, this is what I would have shared with everybody virtually, and started here and said, hey, Jan, would you take notes on this? And then if we needed to move over and it's like, okay, let's go ahead and work on this file. I'm still sharing my screen and we can work on this file. When we're done with the file, I could pop back over here and we could review or get back up to speed. Okay, what's the next thing on our agenda? And if we needed to review any notes that were here. And then, so that's how you would go ahead and take those notes.
One comment, Nancy, is I've been in several meetings. I'm sure you've all been in those meetings where you're watching somebody type. I'll tell you, if you're in one of my meetings, I'll say, get in there and you're all going to type. And, it's much easier when everybody goes in and types in their brainstorming list or give me 6 names that you're going to contact or whatever, to have everybody go in, and then that way it's not just one person and you're excruciatingly watching them type.
Well, I'm going to add one thing addendum to that. So comments that I've gotten or questions I've gotten before is, but I get these sync errors that, we're all typing in the same thing. The chances of you typing in the exact same cell at the exact same time are rather slim. But if you're concerned about that and multiple people are adding stuff, you may want to say, okay, so let's say, who's going to present, and we went ahead and we did things like this. Then Walter would put, okay, this is the one he's going to present. He would be typing on that one. I would take responsibility for what I was doing. Jan would put what she's doing. And so then you're each on a different line because sometimes you can get a conflict. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. Okay, so we have a couple other ones. Georgina said how to measure if you're getting better and meeting your objectives in better meetings.
Does that make sense to you?
I was going to say, can you unmute and maybe give us a little more, Georgina?
Yeah, it was the question, I think it was Walter that posed when you were looking at your agenda saying, is there anything anyone else would add when it comes to change leadership and change management? So that's why I said, what are you going to measure? Because change leadership means you have a destination that you've agreed on and share. And change management says we know whether or not we're working towards that objective or that vision. So that's where that came from.
So it was more on future topics.
Well, I think I can interject. And Georgine, I kind of know how your brain works. I love it. So one of the key things about a meeting, and we didn't cover everything on how to run an effective meeting, but one of the most important things is to know what the overall objective is for a meeting. Are you there to drive accountability? Are you there for problem solving? And then rating the meeting, quite honestly, is an easy way to find out how effective it's working and if people are comfortable being transparent, right? So just asking for feedback to, how do we do, running the meeting? Did we run it effectively? Did we reach the objective? So that's some way to grab KPIs around improving meetings. We have not heard of any client, as many clients as we've rolled out on 365, they are just thrilled with the technology. The statistics that we're seeing around how meetings are being run faster, less meetings are required because of this communication collaboration hub. There's great stats out there that say that these tools are definitely helping you run a more effective meeting. Jordine, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I really didn't have a question. It was just a thought with the question of what else would you add? And I love meeting evaluation. Well, I think meeting evaluation is critical. So every agenda should have something at the end of it saying, how was this meeting? Yeah, I love that.
Great.
And it looks like you've got it in the technology. It was demonstrated. I loved that.
Thank you.
So one of the other questions I see from Peter is productive use of Teams chat. Do you want to maybe unmute yourself, Peter?
I have already. Yeah, so you want an explanation of that?
What do you mean by productive use? And when you talk Teams chat, are you talking about the private chat, or are you talking about the chats in the posts?
This was a suggestion for a future session.
Correct.
Oh, got it.
Thank you, Walter.
Okay. Walter, all right. Walter's our joker in our team.
But he's right. That was a suggestion for future because I think the problem with chat and my experience of it and MS365 is it can get in the way of being productive if it's not used properly and effectively. And so any ideas you've got as how it should be used, when it should be used, would be welcomed.
I really like that idea, and let's put that as a topic. I just we worked with a client that was, we are setting up all of their team structures, and that was the first comment that people were getting. It's a group of engineers, and they're each in about 20 to 25 teams, and they said, "I'm just getting bombarded with all these chats and notifications." And so we'll do a session on how to turn on and off notifications of the things that you want to get notified with. And then the teams that are, you can answer it whenever, you can turn those off individually and for the team. So
that is covered on a very high level in one of our other presentations, I believe. I think it's very high level.
The key thing is it's really up for organizations to explain how to use these communication tools, how to use them properly. So they're not disruptive. They're fabulous. So for example, if I was working on a PowerPoint with Nancy and Walter and we didn't know we were all going to be in there, that's the perfect time for me to use chat because I know that they're focused on what I'm focused on. So I'm not going to be distracting them to talk about something else because we're all talking about that particular PowerPoint. That's a great use of that communication tool. But if you're just using chat to pop in, it's basically like just appearing in somebody's office, like, hey, let's talk. And you could completely be disrupting whatever they're doing. So it's really important for companies to define how do we use chat? When do we use chat versus email versus phone versus text? All those things. The more options we get, the more confusing it is for your employee. And so having kind of standards around which tools you use in which situation is super important.
That's
and also
exactly
response time too, Peter.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everybody expects emails to be responded to nowadays.
Right.
It's not a text.
It is. It gets insane. And that's one of the nice things, though, about the platform and Teams is that all the activity comes into one place, right? You don't have to go someplace else to find it. It's all in here, except email, right? That currently is still outside of here. So that's nice. So Marcy, you had a note here. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself. It appears that you're still here. If we want to see the presenter screen, which may be on the agenda, and take notes at the same time, would we have Teams open twice? So what happens when you join a Teams meeting? I got to make sure I mute that. Is that I do have, so I believe everyone can see my whole desktop. Is that right? So Jan, did you see my two Teams windows pop up? Yes.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom. Okay. So what happens when you open a Teams meeting is that is a separate window. The meeting itself is its own separate window. So kind of like Zoom. So right now in Zoom, right, I'm sharing my screen, but on my other monitor, I have our pictures and I have the participant list and I have the chat open. So I can go ahead and put the meeting, which has the shared information on one screen or half of a screen if I only have one monitor. And then I can go into the team platform and I can go ahead into that OneNote notebook so that I can go ahead and type notes. So this is what it would look like if I was doing this, during a meeting, is I would have my team here on the one side in my notebook and typing notes. And I would have the meeting and whoever, whether it was me sharing or Jan or Walter sharing over here.
The other thing that I do, because it is sometimes I'm going between PowerPoint is I use the little globe up in the upper right and then yep, there you go, upper right, there you go, and then that will put it out to its own tab there we go. So if you go to the OneNote, you'll see OneNote there. And then if you do the world, so I'll go between the various tabs and I'll go to OneNote and then I'll go to Planner and then I'll go to Teams and then I'll go and I can go between in tabs.
Oh, well,
just go to your OneNote. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to sign in right now. So
yeah.
But if I go to tasks and I need to have Planner, I can go ahead and I can open Planner. It's probably going to ask me to log in.
Yeah.
What do you mean sign me out? Anyway.
Nancy, we have another question.
Go ahead.
So Alex is asking, can you set up a team of people where everyone is from different organizations and still make it secure so nobody except those who are invited can access?
Yes. So if I pop back over to my Teams app, since my website is deciding to do funny things, is that this team right here, if I come up to the top right, I see that this is in the CTC Productivity Company. And so Walter and I have been invited to this team as guests, and we are actually outside of CTC. Anybody that's in here has that security. Your organization typically is going to have it set up potentially with multi-factor. As you saw when I was trying to sign back in on the web, I had them, it was asking me to authenticate it, but it is secure. The one thing to remember, if your organization allows you to invite external guests to a team, which some organizations have it turned off and they say, no, you can only invite members of our company. But if it is open to external members to a team, then it is secure because you have to log into it, typically authenticate to it. Big thing to remember, though, is any member of that team has access to all parts of that team. And that is designed purposely that anybody who's a member of this particular team and all these channels and all the files and all the tabs is accessible to all the members of this team.
As a consequence, when you're setting up your teams, you want to think about the first question you ask is who needs access. And if you have a consistent meeting or group of people that are outside your organization, you may want to create that as one team, and call the collaboration team. And then all of your stuff is in that space. If you don't want them to see the rest of the stuff, don't put additional materials and channels in that space.
If you're feeling really confused right now, it's very normal. It takes a while. It takes a long while to grasp how this all fits together. So, but it's really important you understand how to set it up right at the beginning, because you do want to take into account like security as well as ease of use and lots of different things. There's pieces and parts of 365 you can go rogue and go crazy on, but I would say within setting up your team's environment and the use of Planner, because they're so tightly integrated and they're so customizable, that's where people are getting in trouble. So it's probably not all making complete sense, but once you hear it over and over again, it'll start to grasp. It's a whole new way of us really managing from email. And it's a way more improved tool, but it's very different. So there was a question in here about, and it's a great question. Somebody said, as a novice, what the heck happens in Outlook when you schedule meetings in Teams?
So I had mentioned if you already have a team and you have a channel, the importance of actually scheduling that meeting in that channel so that the history is captured here. If you're scheduling a meeting from Outlook, you cannot add the channel to it. And so what happens when you have a meeting scheduled in Outlook, if we look right here, so this meeting was with Nancy, and that is where all that information just goes into your chat and it's kept here. Each of these meetings are just individual chats. They're not attached to a team or a channel. They are individual by themselves. So any conversations that were had, so here, if there had been conversation, you see that with this meeting, we recorded it. Everybody has access who was part of this meeting to go in here and play this recording, to type notes back and forth to each other, and that chat history is retained here. So Nancy, it's actually kind of nice.
Nancy, I think he was asking if you schedule it in Teams, does it go onto your Outlook calendar, or do you have to invite yourself to your Outlook calendar? I think that's what he was asking.
Oh, funny. See, I read that the other way around. If you schedule it in Outlook, where does it show up in Teams?
Well, both ways. Yeah.
So the same thing. So if I'm going into, if I can get my mouse to work with me, it wants to jump around. If I'm in Teams and I went ahead and scheduled, if I do not add it to a channel here, so if I just do test meeting and I go ahead and save it, I'm going to see it here because this is my Outlook calendar. All right. If I went over and looked at my Outlook calendar, I'm going to see it in my Outlook calendar as well. And I can invite anybody that I want to this meeting, and it does not have to be attached to any team or any channel. It's just a standalone meeting with like a Zoom link. It has a Teams meeting link attached to it.
Good question.
Melody, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your questions? Otherwise, I can read them. You've got a couple really good ones in here.
Hi, everyone. I'll just move the cursor back so I can read what I said. So I'm wondering if anyone has had the experience of using or having a team meeting from their smartphone. I've done them a few times from my smartphone, and the meetings are usually quite long. And what I notice with my phone is I have to keep tapping on it because it goes to sleep. And I have an iPhone 12. So, and I also don't have problems with FaceTime. And I did phone Microsoft, but I didn't really have enough time to troubleshoot. And I just wanted to know if anyone else has had the experience of your phone going to sleep during a team, that you have to continually wake up your phone to be able to see the participation going on?
If you're not interacting, I noticed that the other day I was having internet issue on my computer, so I joined on my phone. And when my computer went out again, I looked at my phone and I had to touch it to brighten it up. I do believe, though, that there are some settings on your phone. It's either the iPhone setting or it's the Teams app setting on your iPhone that can change that. So you may just have to get into the settings and dig around. Walter, do you know any more about that? Do you do very many Teams on your phone?
I don't do a lot on my phone, but I believe I was just looking on my iPhone, and I think there is a setting for going to sleep mode, and I think mine is on auto. Right now it's set to 3 minutes, but
you might have to. I was thinking of that one too, but there could potentially be a setting just inside of the Teams app. That's, every time we download an app, there's a settings page. So you want to check that out. Yeah.
I'll look for it while we go.
Well, thank you.
Your next question, Melody, I want to say we need to set that aside. That is really, and it's about, so Walter, the question is curious about a project team and how it would be archived or deleted. That really is, we want to really take a look at it. It typically is things that the IT department is going to do for you, but to map it out. So as Walter mentioned before, as you're creating your teams, you want to have your plan, you want to map it out when you want to put a team and archive it and put it to bed to walk through that process. And then typically the IT department needs to go ahead and they do that as part of their administrative role of archiving a team. And what does that mean? Is it still accessible? Is it this? There's all sorts of little check marks and things that can happen when you want to do that process.
So what I'm seeing with Teams is that you can create operational type channels where they would be static teams that would always be a communication channel. But then there's these ad hoc channels that will come for projects only, and projects, have a beginning and an end. But you don't want to necessarily, delete all the files because it's lessons learned, and you can go back and look at different workflows that happened in the past. So I was just curious what in the future, because Teams is going to be used predominantly, I believe, what they're going to be doing for that, because a lot of people in the real world, they're consultants and do a lot of projects, and they don't have an IT department to manage all those things. So typically, they would need to know, what, at least to get the assistance of Microsoft 365 for business support, they would be able to walk them through, I'm sure.
And that certainly could be a topic of, okay, now that project is over, how do you, what do you need to do with that channel? What do you need to do with that? So we can add that to a future topic to dive into a little bit deeper as well.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I would say for a lot of small businesses, we're noticing they don't have a managed service provider working with them. And Microsoft 365 is complicated enough. You probably want the folks that can work and the underpinnings, like the infrastructure, the security. We work kind of above more with the end users, but we love partnering with the internal IT group or the managed service provider, because there's certain things they do, there's certain things we do. But anyway, but it is a complicated suite of tools, and you sort of need a little extra support. Wouldn't you agree, Nancy and Walter?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of having that next level. Yeah. If it's just you as a consultant, some of those things, it's great that we have 24/7 with Microsoft. But as you said, trying to always get them scheduled and to talk to. I know recently with issues that I have had, if you go in and you log on the web, and you can actually schedule a time for them to get back to you and tell them your problem. They try to have someone that is at least more experienced with whatever your question is. So instead of waiting on hold, to say, hey, I want to call back. Here's the time that works best for me, and here's what my question is. So as an individual consultant, that works really well.
So everybody,
one more.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going over on time, and so please don't. The meeting's somewhat over. We're going to keep going because there's questions. So if you want to stay on, that's great. But we're definitely going over the time. Nance, there was a question from Tim about using Teams and OneNote and all that for EOS level 10 meetings. Do you want to talk about that one?
Absolutely. OneNote and tasks inside of Teams work really well for those EOS meetings, the level 10, in that whatever those meetings are, go ahead. So you have the different level 10 meetings that you have, and I don't know if it's 1 or 2. Sorry, I don't know all the lingo with EOS. I know enough to be dangerous. and create your template over here of what are we going to talk about, right? What is that, so that you always have it. So you'll have your section for the type of level 10 meeting it is, and then the pages for each of your meetings. Now, at least that's how I do it. I do have some clients that say, you know what, we don't want multiple pages. We're going to have one page, and we're just going to keep all of that information on one page. But as you see here, you can do tables. So, maybe it's here's the date, here's whatever, you don't just have to be like ours. And instead of the sheet going down, it can go wide. And then setting up in your tasks, we've seen several go, oh, what are those? And it could be here's quarter 1, here's quarter 2, here's quarter 3, or what are the priorities for quarter 1? And so you have a plan just for quarter 1, and then broken down by the various topics and projects and objectives for that particular quarter with each of the tasks underneath of it. So utilizing OneNote and tasks to capture all of those rocks and everything for EOS, they're just absolutely, they go hand in hand together.
Yeah, Tim, we've had a number of clients say it works great. So
if you were using tasks in your Teams, would you be less inclined to use tasks in your Outlook email client?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, when I started this, Microsoft has actually renamed this to Tasks by Planner and To Do. I don't know if you're familiar with the To Do app. We talked about that earlier. You could grab that website or that webinar off of Jan's website. Inside of Teams, it has been renamed, and you can add it to your navigation bar over here, which I have done. And what I see in here is my tasks, my assigned to me, and then all the plans that I belong to. These tasks that are listed here are all my tasks that are in Outlook. Because this is in Jan's client, I don't have a lot of tasks over there. Mm-hmm. And these tasks are my Outlook tasks. They also show, if you are using your To Do app, which of course it opened on the other thing, they do show here too. So the tasks that I have, this is everything that's out in Outlook. The assigned to me is everything that I have in my different plans that are out here, or any shared lists. And we talk about shared lists as well. So Microsoft forward thinking said, hey, people are loving using this To Do app. They're loving using the Planner app, but they're not connected inside of Teams, which we're hoping becomes this whole hub where everybody stays and lives. So we need to bring everything into Teams. And they've done that with the Tasks by Planner and To Do.
So the Tasks by Planner and To Do that I see on the left, the icon, that's not out of the box. You have to add that manually?
It is not pinned over here, but if you are in your Teams and you click on your 3 dots, you should notice some apps listed here, and one of the apps should be Tasks by Planner. As soon as you add it to the nav bar over here, if you right click on it, you can pin it. And so therefore it will stay. If you don't pin it, as soon as you click onto Teams, it's going to disappear. So if I unpin this, it's gone now. And when I would click on it again, and then I go back to calendar, it's going to go away because it's not pinned. So I opened it and pinned it. And then I also put it where I wanted it. I can drag it and I put it up here.
Great. So Nancy, let's take one last question and then we should definitely close out. So Alex is asking, what happens with the recording? So when we record a meeting, where are the files stored, and do they age or delete automatically so you don't run out of space?
Okay, so I don't know if it's been completely rolled out as of yet, but what happens with this meeting recording here is that in the old version of Teams, which some people may still have because they're not on the rollout yet, is that that recording was saved on one of the Microsoft apps called Stream. And that was beautiful and it's nice and there's such great things about it. But here was the issue with that. In this case, Walter and I are invited with our own email addresses and not a CTC email address. Therefore, when we would click on that meeting recording and it would take us to Stream, it would say you don't have access because Stream is only for people within the same organization and no external person can view it. Microsoft went, oh, we've got a problem because people are inviting all these external partners and now they can't watch the replay if they miss the meeting. And so they changed it and it now records in either OneDrive or on SharePoint. Therefore, your external partners in your team have the ability to watch the meeting. I don't know all the background and admin stuff of how it's just done by default. But the other day when I recorded a meeting, I was pleasantly surprised that mine finally updated and saved it in OneDrive so that the others in that team, my external partners in that team, were able to go ahead and watch it. Your IT, if you are in a larger company, your IT department, they typically have the reins on when that gets rolled out. For others that are, small consultants practices like us, it just kind of happens with whatever rollout we are on. But typically, if they talk about it in the first quarter, by the end of the first quarter, the majority of us have it. So you may or may not have it moved.
Yeah, it's the ever-changing world of Microsoft. So thank you so much for everybody attending. Awesome questions. Nancy and Walter, you rock as always and getting in and answering those. So thank you. Please join us next month. Do the Walter cheer. Yeah. Join us next month. We hope to see you then. And by all means, shoot me an email if you have other questions. We're happy to answer them offline. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.